I never thought I'd be the kind of person to write something like this online, but I don't really have anyone I can talk to about it without making everything worse. I've been carrying this around for months, and I feel like I'm going to explode if I don't let it out somewhere. This might be long, but I think I need to say it all. I grew up in a small town where family was everything. At least that's what I believed. My parents worked hard, but we didn't have much money. I'm the oldest of three, and from the time I was little, I always felt like I was the one who had to set an example. I got decent grades, went to college on scholarships, worked 2 jobs at the same time, and eventually managed to build a stable career. I'm not rich, but I saved carefully and avoided debt. I skipped vacations, lived in small apartments, and watched every dollar because I always had this dream that someday I'd be able to give back to my parents. They sacrificed so much for me and my siblings when we were growing up. They couldn't afford new clothes for themselves, so my dad wore the same work boots until the soles almost fell off. My mom stretched meals so that we'd have enough. I thought if I ever reached a point where I could help them, I'd do it without hesitation. That chance came last year. After almost a decade of saving, I had enough for a down payment on a decent home. But instead of buying for myself, I decided I would surprise my parents. They were still renting a small place that had constant problems. I thought, why not use the money to get them something permanent? A place that would belong to them. A place where they could finally relax. I spent months searching, driving out on weekends to look at listings, talking with realtors, and running numbers. When I found the right place, I cried in my car. It wasn't a mansion or anything, just a modest 3-bedroom house with a little yard, but it was in a good neighborhood, and it felt like home. I told my parents, and they were overjoyed. At least that's how it seemed. They hugged me, and my mom had tears in her eyes. I felt like I was finally able to repay even a fraction of what they had given me. The plan was that the house would be in my name, since I was the one putting down the money and taking on the mortgage. I explained that to them, and they agreed. Or so I thought. I signed the initial papers and left some documents with them to review while I was at work one day. When I came back, they told me everything was fine and not to worry. I didn't think twice because these were my parents. Why would I ever question them? Fast forward a few weeks, and something fell off. Mail that should have been coming to me about the house wasn't showing up. I called the realtor and the bank to ask about it. That's when my stomach dropped. They told me the house wasn't in my name anymore. My parents had somehow forged my signature and put my younger sister on the deed instead. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I went through this haze of confusion, denial, and then panic. I drove straight to their place and demanded an explanation. They didn't even deny it. My mom said my sister needed it more, that she was starting a family soon, and it wouldn't make sense for me to waste the house on myself. My dad sat there quietly, not looking me in the eye. My sister was there too, and she had this smug little look like she had won something. I can't even describe how betrayed I felt in that moment. I had drained my savings account. I had given up years of my own dreams just to make sure they would be taken care of. And now they were telling me that it wasn't mine anymore. They didn't even ask. They just took what I worked for and handed it over. I went to a lawyer and asked about my options. He told me it would be difficult and expensive to fight because of the way the paperwork was filed. He didn't say it outright, but basically hinted that I'd be going up against my own family in court, and even if I won, the relationship would probably never recover. The thing is, the relationship already feels destroyed. I haven't spoken to my parents much since then. When we do talk, it always turns into them guilt-tripping me, saying that I should be happy for my sister, that family is about sacrifice, that I'll understand when I'm older. I'm in my 30s. I understand perfectly well what they did. Some nights, I just sit in my apartment, staring at the blank walls, thinking about how I could have had a house of my own. I could have had stability and peace. Instead, I have nothing. My savings are gone, my trust is shattered, and the people I thought I could count on most are the ones who betrayed me. My sister moved into the house 2 months ago. She posts pictures online about her new home and how grateful she is to our parents for helping her. She doesn't mention me at all. Friends and extended family congratulate her, and I feel like I'm living in some kind of twisted reality. If I say the truth, I look bitter. If I stay quiet, I feel invisible. I've thought about cutting ties completely, but it's not easy. These are still my parents. Despite everything, there's a part of me that still wants their approval, still wants to believe they love me. But if love means stealing my future and giving it to someone else, then I don't know what's left. I keep replaying it in my head, trying to figure out where I went wrong. Did I put too much trust in them? Was I naive to think they'd treat me fairly? Should I have seen the signs? I don't know. All I know is that I feel like a fool. I feel like I worked my whole life just to hand over everything to someone who didn't lift a finger. I don't know if I'll ever forgive them.
I don't know if I even want to.
What I do know is that I have to start over. I've been picking up extra shifts, rebuilding my savings dollar by dollar. It's slow and it's painful, but at least this time I know who I'm doing it for. Myself. If you've read this far, thank you. I just needed to tell someone. Even if it's strangers on the internet. Because right now, that feels safer than my own family.